The other thing I'm thinking of too, guys, is if you have ships that are going away, that creates interest in the ship again that pretty much has been sitting there in the premium shop for ages that nobody really cares about and doesn't really matter until all of a sudden it's like, oh, this might be going away. Oh, we should talk about this, right? We should look at this more. We should think about this. And so I kind of see it as that too. I kind of see that as wargaming basically trying to drum up interest in ships that nobody really cared about for a long time. I mean, when they announced the Summers was going to be gone, everybody went nuts over that. Do I want the Summers, you know? Alright, Tier 6. Let's talk about the first ship. That's the Loewenhardt. The Loewenhardt, the most balanced ship at Tier 6. Right? Khan, what was the map for the Montana game you submitted? I've got like 2 or 3 Montana games. I think. Let's see. Nope, I've got 1 on Greece. So I'll put that one up. So anyways, Erich Loewenhardt is an extremely strong CV. I was basically talking about it as a joke. It's very powerful, and what makes this carrier so powerful, it's got good secondaries like you would expect a German carrier to have. But the big thing is the bombers. These bombers have HE bombs that rival that of the Midway in terms of damage, the Tier 10 Midway. They have a very small aiming circle as well, which makes it relatively easy to drop bombs on destroyers. And that alone makes this ship incredibly powerful. It's really good in random battles. If ranked was a Tier 6, it would be probably my pick as a Tier 6 carrier to play. That or Ark Royal, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, it's just a very powerful ship. The torpedo bombers aren't the greatest. They're really slow torpedoes. But if you can learn to aim with them, you can make them work. The attack aircraft also are quite nice because they are AP rockets, and especially in operations, these attack aircraft chew up lower tiered cruisers.
The Loewenhardt specifically has the same AP rockets as the Parseval, Tier 8.
Yes. So, yes. Yep. So, it's very good.
What, Master Arnie?
Next one on the list that's going away is the Nelson. Personally, guys, if you're debating whether or not to buy the Loewenhardt, if you like carriers at all, pick the Loewenhardt. Like, seriously, that's something I should probably talk about. Should you buy the ship or not? Personally, I would pick up the Loewenhardt.
If you're a CV main, you buy Loewenhardt, then go into Askin's stream, ask him how you play it.
There you go. And Oskins is still hanging out. Cool. Oops. Wrong Tier 7 British battleship. Next up is the Nelson. I always thought of the Nelson as just this lumbering large ship that just takes Citadel damage so easily. It has a super heal. However, in my experience, that super heal does not take into account, it doesn't justify the amount of damage the ship takes. Because look at how much space is Citadel on this ship, all the way back to the rear here. So, I don't care if you get a super heal. If you show too much side in this ship, you're just losing a ton of damage. And the front can be overmatched because it's only 26mm plating. So, hello. This is a damage sponge. This is something that, like, you just sit there. If you're up against carriers, they bomb the hell out of you. If you're up against higher tiered battleships, they just overpen the crap out of you. Good enemy destroyers like Asashios, they just torpedo the hell out of you. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, she's just not that fun to play. One thing about her is, if you look at her from top down, all of her turrets are facing forward, so she's really nice for sticking her nose into a flank and being able to switch from one side to the next very quickly, because that rear turret doesn't have to make that usual turn around the rear of your ship. It just turns with the front turrets. So that makes it very comfortable. Now, the guy getting into the next part of what I was going to say about this ship. It's got 16-inch guns, as opposed to the 14 and 15-inch guns that her Tier 7 compatriots have. To me, that is a curse. Because what I find is that most of the time, these 406s with AP either overmatch or undermatch targets. For some odd reason, I don't know if it's the short fuse AP off the top of my head, but I rarely get Citadel hits against broadside ships with this AP. To the point where I find myself spamming HE more often than not. That's my experience, though. So, you know, it's got the guns, but I don't know.
Basically, the Nelson is a glass cannon of a battleship when you compare it to Tier 7 counterparts. That's my opinion. I just find that's more of a glass cannon than anything else.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, and it's got some secondaries, but nobody cares about this. It's just... Yeah, you can overmatch stuff, possibly McGib, or McGibe, sorry, but it's just... in my experience, and I've played this ship maybe 100 or 200 times, especially in Narai. I don't even like taking the ship into Narai, guys. Like, that's how little I appreciate this ship. I've seen it quite a bit on Shipstorm, and when they had Tier 7 competitive tournaments, and people would take the Nelson, figuring it's got the super heal and it's a great damage sponge, and then they discover very early on that it is not, and, you know, whatever. But personally... Go ahead.
It's tanky against damage over time and HE spam, but that's
Yes.
it. You pay for it so badly in other areas, it's not worth it.
Right. And speaking of HE spam, it's got 32mm deck, so like an Akizuki will totally chew it up anyway. As well as just about anything tier 8 and up with Eye of HE, right?
Mm-hmm.
So...
And also, her forward-firing armament is actually a problem in this case. Since
Why?
her bow is so poorly protected, you actually don't want to sit bow in too much.
Mm-hmm.
But if you try to fire to the rear, your rear gun angles aren't quite that good, and it's
Right.
kind of an antithesis to a forward-firing armament. So, yeah, you can sit that ass on, but why would you do that in a Nelson when you're not designed for it? At that point, play a Duke of York or a King George V.
If I'm playing the Nelson, here's an island right here. I want it so that my enemies are like in front of me, or maybe slightly over here. And I want to be closer to this island, and I want to be prepared to back up around the island for cover so I can heal up and get my repair party back up again. If I can't do that in the Nelson, I'm in trouble, generally speaking. So, she's a tougher ship to play. But she's free XP. So, assuming you've got the 700 and what is it, 750 or 7... I think it's 750.
375.
375.
Is it 375? That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
So assuming you've got 375,000 free XP, pick it up. It's a ship. You know, I wouldn't spend the money. I wouldn't spend the balloons to convert XP to free XP to buy the Nelson. Let's put it that way, okay? Oh, I'm so glad that you asked about the Lenin. I'm going to skip over the list and we're going to take a look because they have...
For the Nelson, I would make the case that you might want to spend your free XP on the 1 mil or 2 mil free XP ships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know, is Smullen still available?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
What is available for 1
Friesland.
million? Okay, Friesland.
Asma, Friesland, and Hayate.
Okay.
Let's pretend that ship
Aegir.
doesn't exist.
And also Aegir as well.
Okay, so what I would do is I would do Friesland, followed by Aegir, followed by probably Nelson, and then I would pick up Azuma and then Hayate last. That's personally my order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. I think that's the order for a lot of people, perhaps, like right now, if ever people don't want to get the Nelson, then you would go for, like as you said, Friesland first. Definitely is a top choice
Hmm.
for a lot of people. Then a gear and then a Zuma. Don't spend your free XP as what SAT. Don't spend your free XP on getting Haida.
I yeah.
If ever you have 2 million, save it and see what happens with or two.
So let's talk about the Lenin. You guys were saying, well, what about the Lenin? See, the Lenin has the same loadout or same turret loadout as your Nelson. It's got 406mm guns, so it's got the same 16s. However, these are Russian guns, and these guns actually hit like a truck. So, right off the bat, her guns are far more reliable than the Nelson. Now let's talk about the other thing that makes her better than the Nelson, and that is the fact that she's got a 32mm armored bow with an icebreaker 100mm. It's incredibly hard to Citadel pen this from another battleship. That includes Yamato at close range because of the armor thickness here with the icebreaker belt. Shikishima maybe, but it's still gonna struggle. Okay. That said, it still does have the same kind of weakness in that if you show broadside, you're going to take a lot of damage. You can see the Citadel length goes about the same amount of ship proportion of the ship that the Nelson did. Okay, but because of the fact that it's 32mm armored, it's still going to be chewed up by IFHE spammers. But look at the deck; it's 45, and the side is 50. So HE spammers only really have the bow or the stern to shoot. And even the stern, it's a very small area that they can hit. So, personally, this ship is a buy. Like, I don't see any reason not to enjoy playing this ship.
And what is it? The number 2 turret has a 360-degree turning radius. Yeah, so
yep.
I mean, why spend money trying to get the Nelson when you could just spend a few extra bucks getting the Lenin if ever you're wanting to put your money down.
The Lenin
might as well.
The Lenin is the playstyle that you wish you had with the Nelson, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And as Narcissa says, you can use Kuznetsov on it too. The camo looks like a wedding cake. Well, you don't have to buy the camo, and who cares about the camo? Because most of the time, you're probably going to use single-use camos because you get better XP bonuses anyways. So that doesn't really matter. Yes, the aft is kind of a shell trap, but this ship I think you can get away with kiting a little bit better than the Nelson. I think the rear firing arc is a little bit better.
And also, like the Nelson and the Lenin, I find personally they operate like the French battleship Richelieu, Strauss, and Dunkirk in the sense of they look for corridors and they look for areas to exploit to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's what bow tankers really are. I find are really good at. They're really good at just finding a corridor and causing issues for the enemy team.
This is a ship that just like Nelson finds an island and you need to dig it out, and you're going to pay dearly in order to do that. The difference is the Lenin can reposition a lot easier than the Nelson could. So there's that. Zardos. Sorry, go ahead.
Also, Lenin is a lot more durable. You can try that with the Richelieu or the John Bot, but you're going to be forced out very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The Lenin is a lot more durable, so you can sit there for a lot longer.
Yeah, 425mm front turret armor. Hello.
Yep, and the 45mm deck means that you will shatter most heavy cruiser HE.
Yep.
Most.
And yes, Lenin in Two Brothers channel is a meme. Absolutely.
It is.
Lenin is one of those ships, of those ships that are on the list right here going away. I already talked about the Erich Loewenhardt as probably being OP. The Lenin is also a ship that I would probably consider in the OP department as well. In other words, I don't see Wargaming bringing it back ever again. Whereas what we just talked about the Nelson, yeah, they'll probably bring it back. So Cthulhu says the Duke of Yuck is also in the armory for coal, so you can get a tier 7 British battleship as a free premium too. That is very true. Like Edge says,
And
Lenin
for
has better
people-
Sigma too.
I find the Duke of York, and from my experience playing against it, is like a tier 7 Thunder. You have a pretty good fire chance on that thing if ever you build it for fire and put fire flags and all that. It's a low tier Thunder without the 457s.
Yep. So personally, if you were trying to decide what you wanted to spend your money on, and you had enough budget to buy one ship, this would be a big contender, especially if you like to play battleships. If you don't like to play battleships, then why would you bother, right? Unless you think you might in the future. But this is definitely a buy in my opinion.
I agree.
Ted 61.
Definitely a buy.
There's a reason why Lenin was a popular pick in the Verizon tournament.
Yeah.
So, Ted 61 is quite possibly the most broken destroyer at tier 6. We were just talking about a very powerful battleship. Here's a very powerful destroyer. What were you going to say?
I don't get how this ship's powerful, so I'm interested into what's the reasoning behind it.
Torpedoes that reload in just a little over a minute. With really good range, 8 kilometer, do decent damage. Her guns are 128s that do have the 1/4 HE penetration rule applied to all the German destroyers. So that's kind of nice. She gets smoke, and she also gets hydroacoustic search. So she's really good at trying to dominate capture points. You can see her detection of ships goes out to 4 kilometer. So it's not the best of German hydro, but it's still quite nice to have. She's just a really good all-around destroyer. It's one of those destroyers that just kind of has a little bit of everything that makes her powerful and strong.
T-61 can pass off as a tier 7 ship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As you can see in chat, people are commenting how much they enjoy the ship. Right there. Look at how many people are saying, I love that ship. We haven't seen that yet. We've been talking about ships yet, guys. That should tell you something about why the ship is worth investigating. It's a tier 6. So at the end of the day, if you don't play tier 6 that much, if you don't play operations that much, maybe you're not interested in it. But this is a ship that I highly doubt Wargaming is going to bring back. This is one of those ships that was in development hell. It was in balancing hell for over a year. And when it released, pretty much everybody looked at it and said, it didn't get nerfed, and we just started scratching our heads. And that's not breaking NDA or talking about performance, it's just simply looking at the numbers from the dev blog and stuff like that. Like, I think just about everybody expected that she would be overperforming. I think she is, but I don't know that she's overperforming to the point where Wargaming wants to pull her from the shop up until now. You know what I mean?
I mean, she's been in the shop for 2 years or so.
Yeah.
A year to 2. Yeah. So.
As McGibe says, if this was in place of the Makarov on the whole shortlist scandal, I think a lot of people would be a lot happier with the result. They'd probably still be upset they got a tier 6, but then they'd play it and say, "Oh, this is actually fun." So, personally, this is another ship that's really worth considering and picking up. And like I said, the nice thing is, since it's a tier 6, it's also a little bit less expensive.
Yeah. So if ever you don't have the money for, say, a Lenin or even a tier 7 destroyer like Haida, definitely T-61. As I hear from Zath, I'm taking his word. Yeah, that's definitely a ship I would love to get. I'm definitely thinking about buying it then.
It's a
T6
fun ship. Go ahead.
So T-61 has everything going for it. It's well-rounded, relatively easy to use, and also pretty cheap to buy, so there's really almost no reason not to get it.
Yep. If there's ever a tier 6 ranked, she'd be a fantastic ship in competitive. Not so much clan battles, especially if carriers are involved, but still, we saw people run.
Easter Bunny.
I'm sorry, what was that, Sith?
I said be right back. I gotta go play Easter Bunny.
Okay, have fun.
Yeah.
We did see Ted 61 though in clan battles. Now that I think back to that season, so
You saw them early in the season, but
Mhm.
we found out they were just not they were not specialized enough. So we started taking the tier
Monahan?
6. Totally.
Mhm.
I think didn't KSC run Monahan?
I think so.
But yeah, we ran the tier 6 Pan Asian destroyers to Fushin.
Right, I remember that too. All right, guys. Next on our list is the Haida at tier 7, which obviously has national pride, which I should probably showcase to you guys. I do not know off the top of my head if you get this camouflage if you purchase the ship through the shop right now. If somebody could take a look and let me know, please do. But this is the national pride camo because you got the maple leaf, of course.
You don't get the you don't get it, but I think it's available for purchase.
Okay. For doubloon purchase later or something like that.
For doubloon purchase later. I
Okay.
bet you they'll perhaps pull another like Canada Day celebration thing like this.
Sure.
Perhaps this year. Yeah.
You have to buy it for doubloons. Yeah. Okay. The thing that makes the Haida unique is she's got the creepy crawly smoke. And she's of course got hydro, which is pretty good for while you're smoking, not taking torpedoes, but also pushing into an enemy destroyer that's using smoke. She is definitely a candidate for both of the special modules to increase both of those gimmicks. She's got ridiculous concealment. When you have it fully spec'd, it's what, 5.6, 5.7?
5.7.
So, I mean, that rivals tier 8 and 9 destroyers and beats most of them, quite frankly. So
you can argue and say that this thing, you can put it up against against high tier ships and still come on top, just because of the advantage that it has, which is the hydro as well as the crawling smoke, as well as its firepower.
Yep, it's got decent torpedoes. You can single fire them, if I remember right. 8-kilometer range on the torpedoes. It's only got one launcher, so you have to be really careful about how and when you use your torpedoes. But all around, Haida's a pretty good boat. Artillery, it's 120 millimeter guns. Now their HE pen isn't that good. It's the 1/6 pen rule, so it only penetrates 20 millimeters of armor with the HE. So against other like destroyers, you're okay. But anything bigger than other destroyers, and you're going to struggle to pen them unless you can hit their superstructure reliably.
Also, don't take IFHE with Haida. You're only going to pen up to 25, which is still not enough.
Doesn't it have warp drive too? It does have engine boost as well, yes. And it is kind of like a Cossack. The Cossack is slightly different in that the Cossack has a this third turret here is a full 120 millimeter turret instead of the 102 secondary. And the Cossack doesn't have the creepy crawly smoke. It just has that one smoke, the regular standard one. Bendadilek, hello. Oh, does it have British acceleration? I honestly don't remember off the top of my head.
It should, but don't quote me on that.
To be quite honest, guys, that's not, to me, that's not a selling point of the ship. Everything else is. That's just icing on the cake if it does, right? So, like, yeah. I mean, this is another ship that's really worthy of purchasing or considering. Now, on the one hand, from a balanced perspective, I could see Wargaming never bringing the ship back as well. However, being that it is the only Canadian ship in the game, I could also see the Wargaming bringing the ship out for Canada Day celebration, for a limited time, like 1 week sale or something like that.
Or a like a 2-day sale or something like that, which would make sense.
It does not have British acceleration. Okay.
I thought that's why they announced Yukon.
Yeah, I think Yukon is supposed to replace Haida. Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. I was not aware that the Yukon was a Canadian ship or supposed to be a Canadian ship.
She's a Commonwealth ship.
Right.
Yeah, she is also, the name Yukon's based off of the territory closest to Alaska.
Okay. Right, it is.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yep. Okay. I should have caught that. I apologize. McGabe, the issue with Haida is that it has lazy shell arcs and only it's pretty floaty shell arcs. So a Haida is a destroyer hunter killer. It's not something that you're gonna typically go and torpedo battleships with. So it
Uh,
can struggle late
Kind
game.
of like real life. It's kind of like real life. Haida hunted down a lot of German destroyers during her history,
Mm-hmm.
and then she became a train buster in the Korean War.
You can just gun down the battleships anyways.
No, yeah, for sure. You can start fires on them and just get your chip damage that way, or torpedo the heck out of them if you can. I mean, 62 knots, that's pretty decent.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next ship on the list. That's the Z-39. This ship is relatively different compared to a lot of the other German line. One of the big differences is its survivability. It's got an almost 20,000 hit point pool. You compare that to the Maas, which has 17.5. And what that means is that the Z-39 is generally a little bit more survivable on the battlefield. It's got German-style torpedoes, so they have decent range, pretty good reload. They don't do a ton of damage, but you can spam them. It's got 150 millimeter guns that do follow the 1/4 HE pen rule. These guns are fantastic for hitting cruisers that are broadside. You switch to AP, you get citadels, and you laugh at them because they just wonder what happened to their hit points. She's got, let me go to equipment here and I'll show you guys. She's got propulsion, engine boost, I should say. She's got the typical German smoke, and she's also got hydroacoustic search, which will detect ships out to 5 kilometer. It's not bad. It's not bad. Is it on the OP tier list of the TED 61? No. It's up there. I would put it at above average, but I don't consider it to be overpowered, in my opinion. I'd say it's above average.
Z-39 is more of a defensive destroyer. You have excellent hull. You also get access to to the 5th slot consumable, so concealment module.
Thank
for some
you.
reason.
Forgot about that.
Yep. Your DPM is kind of low though. Your HE has like 70k HE DPM, which is pretty bad actually for tier 7. So you basically have tier 6 guns, you have tier 7 torps, and you have a tier 8 hull. That is the best way to describe Z-39.
Yeah, it's like a Z-23 pulled down to tier 9. That is true. It's a fun ship. Is it something that you're gonna want to buy just so you can dominate others with? Maybe. But if I had a limited amount, like say I had $50 to spend, this wouldn't be the first ship I'd buy of the list if you didn't have the others.
Is your wife aware of this alleged $50?
No. So according to Zath, I need to buy all of them except for Nelson. Doesn't help the decision. Well, like I said, this one you can put away in the backfield. And Erich Loewenhardt, if you like carriers, grab. TED 61, if you like destroyers, grab. If you enjoy destroyers, Haida. If you want to play a destroyer hunter, then grab Haida. If you don't like that playstyle, then don't pick it up. Z-39 if you want to kill cruisers. Lenin if you like battleships. And that leaves us with two left.
Citadeling the living hell out of ships.
There you go, Weekend Warrior. What $50? All right,
Z-39 is just more of a general use destroyer, like T-61, just not as good for tier.
Right. And that brings us to the Sassy Ho. Now, interestingly enough, in the article it says the Asashio, but it does not say the Asashio Black is going to be removed. Remember that there is a black version of the Asashio, which was sold for Black Friday containers. And I believe you could buy it directly in the premium shop as well. Here it is in the sexy black camouflage. But we're not talking about the Asashio Black, we're just talking about the regular. Just want you guys to be aware that the possibility exists, in my opinion, that the Asashio could still show up in the form of the Asashio Black. So right off the bat, that tells me I don't really need to buy it. The other thing about this ship is it's your standard Japanese destroyer, except it's got special deep water torpedoes. These torpedoes can only hit battleships and carriers. It will not hit destroyers, and it will not even hit cruisers either. Now, her range is 20 kilometers. So basically, you sail Asashio around and you luck chuck torpedoes from either the 1 line or the 10 line, and you laugh because you hit ships that you fired your torpedoes like 3 minutes earlier, didn't even know we're gonna move that way, and you still hit them anyways, and you just laugh because it's funny. That's the Asashio, right? She's got really good concealment, so she can be a good spotter for your team as well. Her guns are fine. A lot of people don't think that the Japanese 127 guns are any good. They are really good. They just don't use them. She's got smoke. So, to be quite honest, she's an okay ship, but she's extremely matchmaker dependent. If you take her into a ranked battle or a random battle, and there's one battleship per team, and the rest are cruisers and destroyers, well, there goes your gimmick. So, and she also has torpedo reload booster, because who doesn't love pumping out additional torpedoes, just 8 seconds later?
You can think of Asashio as a 1.2 dimensional ship.
Mm-hmm.
You are there to screw over battleships and screw them over royally.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's a tier 6 or a tier 10 battleship. They will cry whenever they see your deep water torps running at them.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, you do okay against destroyers if you know how to use your guns, but while you can take on tier 10 battleships no problem, you also lose the tier 6 cruisers.
Right.
So, yeah, one-dimensional. If you like seeing big damage numbers on battleships, then Asashio is a good choice. If you want any sort of versatility, then pick something else.
Right. So, personally, of the ships that I'm seeing, I would rate that on par with the Nelson, maybe slightly above. I wouldn't spend the money on it, personally.
I would say the Asashio is very much skill dependent and matchmaking dependent.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it work in a game where there's very few battleships, but you got to realize that you're more of a glorified spotter.
I would argue against the skill requirement. You don't need too much to just put your torps on a white line and hit battleships.
Mm-hmm.
The most skilled part is really, as he said, fighting other destroyers. Against cruisers, you're just gonna cry anyways because you lose. And if CVs come by with rocket planes, you also cry because you lose.
Yep, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is, as Zath said, remember that your torpedoes only hit battleships and carriers. The amount of times that I've seen Asashios constantly launch torpedoes against other destroyers and also other cruisers, they don't work. Just remind yourself every single time that you bring out the Asashio, like quickly check the torpedoes, just so you can remind yourself, I cannot hit cruisers, I cannot hit destroyers, I can only hit battleships and carriers. That's it. That's all.
Yep. So I wouldn't pick her up personally. And then along those lines, if I wouldn't pick her up, here's our Graf Spee. This is the last of the ships that have been announced to be removed from the premium shop. And again, this is my personal experience. Everybody else is going to have a different experience. But to me, the Graf Spee is it was the first of the super cruisers that was released. And it does have a bit of an identity crisis. It's got these nice 283mm guns that will lull pen quite a bit, at tier 6 especially. It up tiers okay there. The problem that I find with the Graf Spee is in its armor scheme. its armor is incredibly weak, meaning that it gets overmatched by pretty much any battleship that wants to shoot at it. So you have to be really good at baiting shots onto your armor belt. And by good, I mean you have to make battleships think that they're going to get a citadel on you and turn. So you want to be looking at them like this, and then you want to turn to get it so that the shells are going to hit your belt. Or you want to be like this and make the turn like that. You get the idea? If you can do that, the ship can work for you. If you can't, you will struggle mightily with the ship, in my opinion. She does have torpedoes. Let's get out of the armor layout. She does have torpedoes. These torpedoes are hilarious because they've got really good firing arcs. They can fire. Let's get out of this look. They can basically fire. Like this is the right torpedo. It can fire pretty much like this, and of course all the way to the back of the ship too, to about to there. So the torpedo arcs are fantastic, and the fact that it's at the rear of the ship means you don't lose your torpedoes as often as say the Tirpitz does or the Pommern. You know, Pommerns are amidship, aren't they? But you get the idea, like middle-mounted torpedoes. She does have a heel, but to me that's not enough to keep her alive. She's got the fighter consumable, which is okay against aircraft carriers, and she can run defensive fire, but why would you when you've got the ability to run German Hydro with 5.5 kilometer detection? This is one of those ships where a min-maxer will really enjoy the ship, but the average person will not. We saw her in Tier 6 clan battle used quite often because, again, she's a good min-maxer ship. But for the most part, I would not enjoy taking her out in a random battle, especially if I'm down tier to Tier 8 game. And yes, it's got a slow reload, and the dispersion is very annoying. Yep, although it does have the 2.0 Sigma that is supposed to be like really good accuracy. In reality, it just doesn't seem to want to hit what I aim at. It does also have the long fire duration. It's got the 45-second, if I recall correct. Or did they change that now? I can't remember with the Captain rework, but it was given 45 seconds instead of 30 second. Scorpion tail torpedoes. I like that. That's a good idea. It's a good way to call it. It is still 45, okay.
Oh, I'm back, by the way.
Cool, welcome back. So yeah, so that's the Graf Spee. I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't buy it. Oh, Meat Pie Man, if you want to trigger some people, especially people who love naval history, yeah, you go right ahead and call it a pocket battleship. Oh my god. Oh my god. You will trigger the hell out of a ton of people. And it's so fun doing that. But anyways.
Wow.
That's the funnest things to do.
Aka Nikolai with the follow, thank you very much. And Barazulio, thank you very much for the follow too. Talking truth. So if I were to rank these ships in priority of what I would buy first, I would put Erich Loewenhardt, Lenin, Ted 61, and Haida as like immediate buys. Personally, if I had the budget, I would pick up those first. And again, if you like playing battleships, Lenin is obvious. If you like carriers, Loewenhardt is obvious. If you like destroyers, take your pick. Do you want the all-around destroyer or do you want the destroyer hunter? Okay, up to you. If I still had money left over to spend, the Z39 is a solid pick. And if I, for some odd reason, just wanted to give Wargaming all the money that I could because I love this game so much and I want to support the developers, I would definitely pick up the Asashio, Admiral Graf Spee, and Nelson. That, to me, is my tier list. Is Friesland going away? AK Pride Alaska is fantastic.
No, I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
Friesland's still gonna stay around for a bit.
Friesland is not... Yeah. Alaska... Yeah, I think Alaska was pulled, and I don't remember if
Yeah,
they...
Alaska's gone.
I don't remember if they made the announcement that Alaska Black was also pulled and never coming back. But yeah, thoughts on Alaska? Hope you got yours.
Yeah.
Black was pulled. She was just never put back.
Right. All right, guys. Do you have any other questions about the ships that are going away? If not, this will be the end of our Zath chat.
Yeah, what do you think about the new skins coming out?
What new
The
skins?
Godzilla ones.
I don't know what skins you mean.
The Godzilla and the Kong camas.
I mean, sure.
Permanent ones.
The Godzilla, what is it? They're working with the people behind Godzilla and Kong to bring 2 different camels, one for the North Carolina, one for the Amagi.
Mm-hmm.
But
And I have
I
no
heard
idea what
something.
else it's going to be.
But I heard something, and I don't know if it's true, and I was wondering if anybody knew. So they look really cool. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they look really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, they only look that awesome in the port, and then they're not there when you go out to battle.
Okay.
Well, it's you can see it, but some other people, if ever they have a filter enabled, they won't see it. They will see perhaps the premium camouflage of this.
Okay, but normally it is there. Because someone was saying it
Yes.
won't be there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Because that would very much change my mind about getting it if, you know.
I mean, they were just recently announced on April Fool's Day of all days, so we're gonna have to see what happens when they come out. And assuming Wargaming gives me one for review purposes, I will definitely highlight the camo and talk about it, and that might help you guys make your decisions. That's the whole point of the CC program. So
I don't think that they would give you a premium camouflage, and then the second you take it in battle, you can't see it. I don't
Yeah.
see them doing it. They haven't done that with any camo, and I can't remember who just said it, but yeah, unless somebody's got it clicked off, like I don't run the space camos, I've got that clicked off because I could never tell how fast the ship was going.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Those are, people won't see it unless they have it enabled. You will see it no matter what.
Yep. Okay, now some people have been asking about the balloon ship. So let's take a look at. I'm gonna pull up my armory. There it is.